gamers.
Gamecast Network. Video Game Show Episode 2.
It's time for the Gamercast Network Video Game Show, Episode 2, for Saturday, September 9th, 2006. With your host, M.C. Fragzalot.
With me today, Keith.
10 more days to talk like a pirate day.
All right, Bob.
Go hickory nuts. I mean, Buckeyes.
Ivan.
Hi.
Sitting in with us, special guest, Chris Palladino.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And, of course, Chad.
Next topic.
Red Sox pitcher Curt Schilling is teaming up with comic book artist Todd McFarlane to create a new video game company based in the Boston area. The company would be called Green Monster Games, and it's already hiring developers. Experience with the game engine that powers Elder Scroll Oblivion is listed as a job requirement for prospective applicants. Therefore, we can assume the first title would be some kind of RPG. Also teaming up with Schilling and McFarlane is science fiction author R.A. Salvador, who will act as creative director. McFarlane, of course, will be the art director, and Curt Schilling will be...
Pitching coach.
He'll be the pitching coach.
The guy with all the money.
McFarlane's freaking crawling with money. He's the guy who bought Mark McGwire's home run ball for like $7 million. If you're not a comic book fan, he's the guy who created Spawn.
More importantly, he was the brainchild behind the Venom Carnage saga, which is probably the best Spider-Man saga ever.
And once he called Batman gay, so, you know.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Which only adds to his coolness.
What?
Because Batman is gay.
Now you're on my hate list, too. Okay, that's fine.
The only thing I know about Curt Schilling, at least, is we know that he's a big EverQuest and MMO player. So it kind of makes sense then if they're going to go out and build an MMO based on the Oblivion engine.
R.A. Salvador is also, he's the guy that did all the Drizzt series in the Forgotten Realm thing.
I want to see the ads, though. Ever want to hang out with sports guy, comic book hero, and novelist dude? Come. Work for Green Monster Software.
It's like the
We're pretty popular.
It's like the League of Extraordinary Misfits.
Programming JLA.
Next topic.
Last week we had news on Team Fortress 2, so it's only fair that this week we have news on Duke Nukem Forever. Development on Duke Nukem Forever first began in 1997, and as we reach the 10 years of active development, there suddenly seems to be some signs of trouble at 3D Realms.
Now there's signs of trouble.
Yeah.
I guess your first sign is 10 years with no game.
Apparently something described as a quote-unquote mass exodus occurred amongst the development team, with many Duke developers heading to Gearbox Software.
I heard Todd McFarlane recruited them all.
Yeah.
Apparently they're big Curt Schilling fans.
Well, Gearbox is probably best known for its work on porting titles such as Halo, Half-Life, and Counter-Strike between various platforms. 3D Realms president George Broussard, when asked about how this will affect Duke Nukem's development, responded, quote, "Things are never as bleak as they appear." So there you have
He
it.
responded, quote, "Duke Nukem, is that something we're working on?"
That thing?
I thought we
thought
stopped
I-
that 20 years ago.
I thought I canned that a while ago.
He went on to say other things, that the core game is all done. That all they have left is like details here and there. So
Runs great on a GeForce 3.
I was trying to think of other things that take 10 years to develop. The only things I can think of are,
Doctor's degrees.
yeah.
Getting a doctorate.
Bob's career at Ohio State.
Where?
Next topic.
All right, a demo of the expansion pack for video game show favorite Dawn of War has been released, called Dark Crusade. Download weighs in around 300 megs and adds things that expansion packs usually add, like 2 new playable races and new maps.
I have never played the single-player campaign.
I never finished it. I started it, but never finished it.
I'll give my thoughts from the single player perspective. You guys give the multiplayer perspective, because I thought the single player was absolutely awful, and I'm giving it a D+. It was completely redundant in terms of strategy that I used to beat the game. Just kind of place a bunch of stationary cannons and move on to the next contention point, and just keep repeating that pattern, and eventually you'll win a single player game. The only reason that I played it all the way through because it actually had a good storyline. But it was compelling. It was compelling enough to keep me going, so I'll give him that much credit.
The Warhammer 40,000 world is like a sweet setting.
That's very cool.
Well, I never played the tabletop game, so I have no experience with it.
What are the 2 new races? Does anybody know?
I think the Necron, and I don't know the other. I want to say the Tau, maybe?
Monkeys!
I was just gonna say it's VGS favorite. Probably no one's downloaded. Only one of us has beat the single player.
Well, A,
We like it though.
I like
honest.
the lack of resource management, and B, I love the Warhammer 40,000 setting. So it's kind of just a win-win situation.
So I didn't like it because of the lack of resource management. I mean, that's one of the things I like to do. I like to tackle its economy.
Because you're a moron.
Yeah, you are in the minority on the show because we kind of like stuff that we don't have to want to figure out. Do I need 7 or 8 workers? That's the optimum amount to harvest wheat from the field. Well, while we're talking about Warhammer and Games Workshop games, there's been a bunch lately that all these Warhammer games are in development. Blood Bowl actually has been officially licensed, and they're going to be making a computer version of Blood Bowl, the tabletop kind of football wannabe game.
Officially making one. Not like the one they made years ago where you had to pick the pre-made team.
No, that one was pretty good, all things considered.
But
that one. This one has been Games Workshop sanctioned.
The Tau Empire and the Necrons are the 2 new races.
Right, that's what I thought.
Okay.
I want to see the Tau. I actually thought if I wasn't going to make orcs, I was going to make them.
Next topic.
Alexis Nolant of Ubisoft, during a presentation at the Game Writers Conference in Austin, Texas this week, asked, does story even matter in video games? He said, quote, many hardcore gamers claim that they don't care about stories in games. They skip story elements whenever they can, and the story just gets in the way of the experience. Now, just going back to what we just said about Dawn of War, story was the only thing that kept me going.
I think that story is extremely important. I just don't like RTSs, which is why I've never played through the Dawn of War one. But I'm the only one that sits there and reads all the little text and the little books you find on the wall and that kind of crap.
I think in terms of that, I'd probably split the difference between Keith and Chris, because it depends what kind of game I'm playing. If I'm playing, like, a first-person shooter or something, I want to kill shit. I'll click past story and won't even look at it. But if I'm playing an RPG game or something, especially like a Neverwinter Nights, which I just reinstalled, I'll probably read everything in there just because the story is an element of the game. When you're playing, I mean, the actual game for an FPS is attacking the other player. I really could give a crap less whatever contrived plot they have established in order to legitimize the fact that there's a whole bunch of dudes running around with plasma rifles.
But what about like FPSs like System Shock, which had a pretty good story?
I don't care. It's not what FPS is for.
Ivan, you've been trying to say something now like 3 times.
I kind of agree with Bob, but in a different way. I'm down the middle of the road. I like storylines. I just hate hour-and-a-half-long cinematics. I remember playing one of the Metal Gear Solid games, Metal Gear Solid 2 maybe, and it was a really good game, but I timed, literally there was about 25 minutes of cinematics before you could get back into the game, and I just wanted to bash my head into the wall.
Yeah, it's the same way with like Xenosaga for the PS2. They had long cinema screens. It was like you were sitting there for 45 minutes.
Final Fantasy's been notorious for lately having extremely long cinematics, and I really like their storylines, but they have gotten worse with that, which could be another topic. Final Fantasy 12 is including some sort of new combat system where you can kind of tell your guys what to do, and they just go off and do it, and you sit there and watch them. Penny Arcade even had a comic about it, which means not only have they lengthened the cinematics, but they've taken the actual gameplay out of the game as well.
Well, they're trying to make 12 feel more like a massively multiplayer game where you're kind of like walking around and you don't like shift into a battle. Enemies are always walking around and you walk over to them and fight them rather than have that whole screen shift and go into the battle zone.
I'm of the mindset that story doesn't matter at all. I never read anything in any games, so it's really bad to be in a group with me in an MMO because I never know where we're supposed to be going.
So I guess you don't like Zork, huh?
Well, that was me with City of Villains. Is I never read anything. I just like I hit buttons. I'd run in. There's people. I must kill them because why else would people be there?
Right. I tried to play Final Fantasy X2 and I didn't get past the intro screen because I was sitting there 15 minutes and then I said, it's too bad. It's going on eBay. I didn't even play it because I don't want to watch. I don't want to look. I don't want to read things. You better have a skip button on everything, and that's why I'm freaking out every time I put in a new game.
I think it depends too, especially if you're busy and you got 20 minutes to play a game. I don't want half of that time being watching some cinematic or me having to read through 10 minutes of story to know the proper question to ask the first guy I meet, else I'll get killed.
What do you think, Tom? You haven't said anything about it. Do you like story or not story?
It depends. Like, if you asked me 2 years ago, I would have been not story because I was so heavily into first-person shooters at the time. I just wanted to get in and start blowing things away. And then they had games coming out like Counter-Strike and Day of Defeat Source, which there's no story there. It's meant to be multiplayer only, and that was kind of really my thing. But now that I'm doing the show and I'm trying out more genres of games that I would have played otherwise, I'm suddenly being exposed to stories, and sometimes the story is the only thing that I find interesting about some games.
If you can trick me, like Princess Mononoke was a movie that I accidentally watched because the first couple 10 minutes were action and blood and guts, and then they stopped, and then 2 hours later you're like, oh, there wasn't any, there was just story. That's fine, but I don't want to know it. I'm sorry, I haven't interrupted
Trick me
you.
into acknowledging your plot, then
That's right.
I think, Bob, you were with me, and we were like, oh no, we just accidentally watched this
crap,
big, long,
it's
dumb
been
anime.
2.5 hours, and I'm still interested. Why hasn't anyone died?
I know. As soon as I put that disc in, man, I just want to start killing stuff.
Next topic.
MMO Second Life gets pwned. All right, a hacker was able to crack the Second Life database and grab account information for every single Second Life customer. The unencrypted information they were able to grab was stuff like your
It's worth
username.
$5.6 million.
Yeah, well, they were able to grab your username. They were able to grab your password. The hacker was also able to grab credit card information in encrypted form.
$10.6 million.
So it looks like your Second Life is causing your First Life problems.
But
I know. Add the drum rim shot there. So I have no idea what kind of encryption they were using on the credit card information. So I hope it's one of those types of encryption
they
that are difficult to
transposed
hack.
the letter by one. So A is really B, C is really D.
Their encryption was tagline, not credit card data.
I don't know how they figured it out.
Although we found out that there's only 600,000 Second Life customers. So there you go.
I'm curious as to why someone would waste the effort and the amount of time to break into something like that rather than something like a World of Warcraft or a...
Because I'm sure World of Warcraft is probably better coded.
Yeah, Blizzard actually has the money to hire technicians to watch their servers 24/7.
Was it really hacked, or did someone's avatar hack the virtual servers inside the Second Life
No, it
world?
was an actual. They got through it through the Second Life website.
The website.
Yeah, they didn't get it through the game. They got through the website
They logged into the website and got all the information.
and was able to get to game information. Yeah,
It's in the. It was actually in the EULA. Just if anyone actually read it, they could have hacked right in. It was like the prize.
There was a link that said billing people click here, and it was an Excel spreadsheet with all the names and addresses and credit card numbers.
EULA.
Next topic.
Nintendo going after the iPod market. At the Leipzig Game Conference in Germany, Nintendo distributed some marketing material touting a new MP3 add-on for the DS and Game Boy Advance. The add-on will cost around $40, and the tentative release date is October 8th.
And will fail miserably.
Well, since now the DS, it plays video games, it browses the web, it plays MP3s, so the only question is how soon until they add cell phone functionality?
They actually did have a MP3 player for the Game Boy Advance.
You had it,
I did
right?
have it for a while, and it could have used some technological advances. It was kind of contrived to get stuff to work, but it did work, and the controls kind of sucked, so I'm sure they could do it better. I think they sold about 8 of those, so what makes them think that the DS, just because there's a lot more of them out there?
I think this one isn't this an official Nintendo one though. This is gonna be like they're the one doing it.
Yeah, this is not a third
That
party.
could help.
This is a first party.
That could certainly help.
I think it's a Game Boy Advanced add-on. It's just gonna be able to work with the DS as well.
In order to get the music, you have to dance. It's an interesting Nintendo technology where you have to dance first, and then the music comes out.
It's going to be some sort of compact flash card based thing, which means
Yeah,
you're
I think
going to
it is.
get a gig or two of room.
It's like you have on the cartridge you have a slot where you can put in your SD card or something like that. I can't remember what it
Right,
was.
that's how the one that I had.
That's how it was. Okay.
You used an SD card that plugged into the cartridge. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to use the same device that I use to listen to music, to play games. When I had my PSP, it has MP3 functionality. It was too expensive and fragile, and to be running, like, jogging with a $300, PSP that I didn't want to get sweat or smudge on.
Worthless.
I deem you worthless.
Bob has deemed it so.
Chris is right though. I mean, even though
Well,
the DS is smaller than the PSP and much less expensive, it's still too big to be jogging with or anything.
What if you have a really big knapsack,
Knapsack.
Backpack.
fanny pack,
Knapsack.
Blackjack.
Sack tap.
sack tap? I got that. There'll be no sack tapping.
When asked about phone support in the PSP, a Sony executive, Azumi Kawashushi, said,
Congratulations.
I doubt that's his name, but go on.
Congratulations on pronouncing that.
Kawanishi,
Slamalasushi.
Excuse me, Samasushi.
Seriously, that's his name.
You guys quit screwing around.
Okay,
We're trying to do a
said-
show here.
Don't you got to add a san on the end? So it's really Slamalasushi-san. Tom's pronunciations amuse me.
All right, the Sony dude said, and I quote, there is a possibility cell phones get more interesting as their data transfer rates increase, and I think it would be extremely interesting to try something like that. So look for cell phone technology coming to a PSP near you soon.
You mean a DS?
No, that was
No,
a
this is-
Sony
Yeah,
rep.
that's
Well, that's what the S stands for on PSP. Cell phone.
There are so many things wrong with that joke.
Next topic.
Okay, this one's going to be difficult to get through. All right, so everyone bear with me.
Oh, no.
Today's top story, Sony launch news, or the greatest blunder in product release history.
Well, I can't even make it through the
Greatest
pronunciation.
blunder in reading of the title of the story ever.
All right. Sony is going to completely miss every single market prediction and estimate. On November 11th, the PlayStation 3 will launch in Japan with only 100,000 units. And 1 week later, on November 17th, the PlayStation 3 will launch in America with only 400,000 units. And if you don't live in those two countries, then you're completely out of luck because there is no worldwide launch. There's no European launch until March 2007 at the earliest, and even in that date, it might be pushed back. So you poor Brits and Aussies, get ready to be gouged on eBay if you absolutely must have a PlayStation 3.
Australia's not in Europe.
All right, so back at the Leipzig Game Conference in Germany just 2 weeks ago, there were no working PS3s on display. So let me repeat that. Sony had 0 publicly displayable PS3s available, which makes me suspicious that they won't even be able to hit
Tom,
these
does
minuscule
anything
numbers.
not make you suspicious?
Exactly.
All right, Tom, I've made you a sandwich. Yes, but what did you put in that sandwich?
But why?
Is there really a sandwich? I don't believe you. Let me see the sandwich.
Well, to give you something to compare to show you how much of an epic debacle this whole thing has become, when Microsoft did their worldwide launch last year, they launched with 1.5 million Xbox 360s, and absolutely everybody complained about the massive shortages from this small number.
The difference is nobody cares about the PlayStation 3, so they'll have 399,000 left
They're
over.
not even gonna be game consoles. They're just gonna be like collector's items. Like if you open the box, you ruin its value. Just be like traded back and forth on eBay like trolls.
Okay, well, this whole thing gets better, though, because, all right, remember that whole big stink Sony made about 1080p was going to be the only true high definition, and that high definition doesn't start until Sony says it starts? Well, the PlayStation 3 will launch with zilch 1080p titles, and an anonymous third-party developer was quoted as saying, reaching good frame rates at 1080p with next-gen graphics is almost impossible. Instead, many developers like ourselves are reworking so that our games run at 720p, which, of course, that's already available on the Xbox 360. So it looks like if you were hoping that the PlayStation 3 was going to develop 1080p gaming, then you are sorely mistaken.
Hoping that the PlayStation 3 was developing anything, you were sorely mistaken.
The next gen of gaming starts when we say it does. Oh, well, the PS3 is out. Does it start now? Not yet. Keep waiting for it. Soon. From a Microsoft standpoint, though, honestly, a lot of people had problems when the console launched with the 360. Now Sony is kind of feeling that it really isn't super easy to do a worldwide launch with consoles.
Wait, so now it gets better still. A couple months ago, we reported that Sony lost its head of public relations for the PlayStation division. And of course, the result of that loss has been painfully obvious to anyone who's been following the Sony news lately. Well, the electronics giant finally found a replacement in a Mr. David Cracker.
It's not a replacement, Cracker!
Who is undoubtedly well prepared to deal with Sony's current PR woes because his former job was Director of Communication for Allied Spirits and Wine, maker of such fine products as Kahlua, Canadian Club Whiskey, and Stoli Vodka.
Crazy Cracker's running out of popping now!
Well, you know, if I was Sony and I was going through this whole thing, I think that was like we were running a company and we were doing so badly. I was like, yeah, let's just hire someone from the wine and liquor industry.
That Cracker seems to know what he's doing.
We got some problems only that Cracker can fix.
I done fell right out my chair.
Now for some good Sony news.
They make good Sony news? Ooh, I'm intrigued.
Well, no, yeah, well, that depends on your definition of the word good. So in conjunction with the PS3 launch, Sony will be unveiling a new service for the PSP that will allow PSP owners to download original PlayStation titles that have been ported to the handheld platform. So if you loved paying for them the first time, you're going to get a second opportunity to pay for those games again.
Battle Arena Toshinden on the PSP, the way it was meant to be played.
Really, really tiny.
Next topic.
All right, now with some World of Warcraft news. Chad.
2 pieces of World of Warcraft news. One is they are on track this year to hit $1 billion in revenue.
Yeah,
Dang.
no surprise there, though.
Yikes.
They have 7 million subscribers, $1 billion in revenue, and they have many subscribers in China and Korea.
That's huge. 7 million people. I don't know all the stats off the top of my head, but when you say 7 million people play a particular video game.
The stats were here, they had 7 million subscribers, they basically had 3 million of those in China, 2 million in the US, and strong Korean showings as well. Okay, well, the bigger news is there's going to be a World of Warcraft collectible card game coming out, and there is very good buzz in the street about it. So, a local comic book shop owner, Eli, he's a very shrewd man, and I respect his opinion. He has a very high opinion of this game, usually with...
He knows geek stuff.
He knows geek stuff,
like,
and he knows
market.
what's going to be hot. He's thinking this is going to be hot. So hot that he's buying lots of boxes of this stuff. So, basically...
He was right on. I'm sorry to interrupt. He was right on so many different things. What were those little disc things? A few years. Yeah, he had those when they were big.
He knows what the flavor of the month is, but he also knows what's going to be around for a long time, and he's seeing this World of Warcraft game as being around for a long time. So basically, it's Blizzard's teaming up with Upper Deck. What you can actually do is you can actually go on to Upper Deck's site for World of Warcraft and download demo decks of this. You actually download like PDFs and then cut out the cards, and they have rules and everything you can play. And the real kicker here is that some cards are going to be called loot cards. And you can scratch off a code and give yourself things in the World of Warcraft online game.
Nice.
Tie-ins.
What they're saying right now is the loot you're going to get, just things to show off. Like one of the things that is known is going to be a loot item is a turtle mount.
Sounds like this party I went to in Mexico once.
You read that one too?
Well, did you see a donkey show?
So the loot cards are going to have varying degrees of rarity. So there's going to be like one for every few packs, one for every box, one for every case, which is 12 boxes. And basically this was shown off at Gen Con a few weeks ago. Upper Deck went all out, got all the top-notch artists to do all the art, and people who actually played it said it plays really well.
It's like teaching heroin addicts how to farm poppies.
That's the joke of the show.
So look for World of Warcraft, the collectible card game, in, I believe, October is when it's going to start.
What's interesting to me is that City of Heroes is trying to do the same way. City of Heroes has a role-playing game coming out. City of Heroes already has a collectible card game coming out. They have HeroClix characters. It's interesting to me because you have a hugely successful World of Warcraft franchise, and then you have City of Heroes, who's beloved by their community. In general, the population playing City Heroes and City of Villains is nowhere near World of Warcraft, and they're doing all the same stuff. They come out with a card game, goes totally under the radar, role-playing game under the radar, HeroClix and all that, and World of Warcraft farts, and it makes major, headlines all over the place.
When you can get the Doritos and the flavors of City of Villains, then you're all set. But
New Captain Mako Doritos. That would be tastes like a fish. Lord Arachnos' spider-legged Dorito.
Next topic.
Next Generation Magazine compiled a list of the top-selling PC games of the 21st century. That is all the games released since 2000. So let's turn this into a little game show here. I'm going to go around a circle. Everyone's going to name 2 titles. I'm going to throw one out right now. You can't say World of Warcraft because that is number 3 on the list of top-selling PC titles of the 21st century. So you don't even guess that one. Chris?
Let's say StarCraft, because that's probably a pretty up-there one. And then I'm going to go off-kilter and give someone else some of the other good ones and say something like a Barbie or a My Little Pony.
No. Don't dog it for us. You pick.
No, I believe that enough software has been sold for, like, Freddy Fish Learns to Count.
All right, Bob, what's your title?
So I'll pick Warcraft 3 and Sims 2.
All right, Ivan.
I'll go with everybody's favorite Guild Wars, Doom 3.
All right, Keith.
I want to say Diablo 2, but I think that was before 2000.
Diablo 2 was released in 2000.
Actually, was going to say Diablo 2, but I thought it was earlier.
And Neverwinter Nights.
This is not knowledge of video games. This is how good do you distinguish the passing of time. That's what this is.
Exactly.
Are you aware how long ago the year 2000 was? And if so, you win.
All right, Chad.
Battlefield 1942 and Might and Magic 9.
What?
Okay.
Wow.
All
That
right,
dude.
So it is written.
Now for our bonus round. Name one of the top-selling PC games of August 2006. And again, I'm automatically throwing out World of Warcraft because that is number 2 on the list. All right, so again, Chris, pick one of the top-selling games, PC games for August 2006.
Madden.
Keith.
Age of Empires 3.
Ivan.
Prey?
All right, Chad.
Half-Life 2 Episode 1.
All right, and Bob.
Auto assault.
Nice. Nice. Bob, can you do the rundown again?
Chris Palladino for his 2 picks of the best PC games since the year 2000, StarCraft and some lame kids game. And for the bonus round, top-selling game of August 2006, Madden. Ivan's 2 picks were Guild Wars and Doom 3, and his top pick for 2006, Prey. Keith went with Diablo 2 and Neverwinter Nights. And for August 2006, Age of Empires 3. Chad chose Battlefield 1942 and Might and Magic 9. In August 2006, Half-Life 2 Episode 1, and I went with Warcraft 3 Sims 2 for my top pick since 2000. For August 2006, Auto Assault.
Wow, you guys like all collectively lost. Only 3 of you actually picked something that was on any of the lists. Madden is the #1 PC game for August 2006. Keith picked Diablo 2 correctly, and Bob picked Warcraft 3 correctly.
Huzzah!
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 So we have a 3-way tie. Congratulations, gentlemen. So quickly running down the top 10 of the 21st century is the original Sims at #1.
Oh, I didn't know that came out. Again, passage of time issue.
#2, Diablo 2. #3 of all time since 2000 is World of Warcraft. #4, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. #5, Zoo Tycoon. #6, SimCity 3000 Unlimited. #7, Warcraft 3. #8, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. #9, the only first-person shooter to break the top 10 of the 21st century is Medal of Honor Allied Assault. And rounding out the top 10 is Age of Mythology.
Next topic.
All right, so we got a poll topic from last week, which was what are your feelings on arcade and retro games distributed via online consoles? The vast majority of the people who voted think that they're glad they're there, but they wouldn't miss them if they weren't, which seems to be the consensus. Nobody is buying consoles so that they can play retro and old arcade games.
Yeah, I was thinking about this on the can today, and
Thank you.
so this kind of stuff makes sense if you're a young kid. Let's say you were born in the 90s, and so you never really played the NES. For a lot of this material, this might be the very first time that you ever play the original Castlevania or
Kid Icarus.
My niece, who's like 7 or 8, came up to me with her DS Lite, and she said, "Have you ever heard of Super Mario Brothers?" And I just shook my head, like, yeah, they don't know that Super Mario Brothers
20 years
has been
old.
around for... And they're like, what about, have you ever heard of Sonic the Hedgehog? And I'm just like, what has gone wrong with our youth?
But this is the market they're targeting with these retro gaming stuff, since they never bought the original stuff, where I still have the carts sitting in the bottom of a drawer somewhere.
It's cool because they're pumped about it. Like, she was totally ecstatic about Mario Brothers and thought it was the greatest game in the universe. But it was just weird to me to have somebody ask me, hey, have you ever heard of Mario Brothers? Just totally serious about it, not even joking. And
Yeah, but the weird thing is, when they play the new versions of Mario and they go back and see the old version, they're going to be like,
Yeah,
sucks.
exactly. What is this crap? All right, so that was the old poll topic. Next week's poll topic, based on a lot of our conversations today, is are you keeping your PS2 after the PS3 comes out? With all the grumblings and the price points for the PS3, what are you doing with your PS2? So go to GamerCastNetwork.com/forums, go to the polls section, and cast your vote.
to clarify, this is, if you buy a PS3, what are you doing with your PS2?
Just kind of in general. The options are like, no, I'm keeping my PS2 because I won't be getting a PS3. I'm selling my PS2 because I need money for the PS3, or I'm not getting a PS3, so I'm keeping my PS2.
I'm keeping my PS2 for Guitar Hero.
I could put that
is
in
that
there.
an acceptable answer? That's the only reason I have my PS2.
Next topic.
Now it's time for mailbag.
Mailbag! If you want to send us an email to get in touch with us at the Video Game Show, email us at vgs@gamercastnetwork.com.
Said everybody in reporter voice.
Everything sounds more dramatic when you talk.
Yes,
like
it
a reporter.
does, Keith. Back to you, Tom.
And Keith, our phone number.
208-964 game.
Oh, you ruined it too.
It was 986, I
It's
thought.
206-984.
All right. But I sounded dramatic when I said it incorrectly.
The video game website for the correct. Oh.
206-984 game.
Visit GamerCast.com for all the correct contact
Gamercat,
information.
you might want to say the whole
GamerCastNeck.com.
GamerCastNock.com.
Knock, 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 knock.
Visit GamerCastNetwork.com for the correct contact information for the guys at the Video Game Show.
I can't believe. Listen to our podcast to go to the website to get the proper information because people aren't aware. Rather than correct it, we're going to direct you to the website.
And as always, visit us at gamercastnetwork.com/forums and join in the forum posting fun.
And listen to our incessant ranting at GamerCastNetwork.com/blogs.
How many f***ing plugs do we have?
We got more plugs than John Stamos' hair. I'm saddened by the fact that I know who John Stamos is.
Everyone who knows who John Stamos is.
Yeah. Uncle Jesse Kostopoulos?
Yeah, Uncle Jesse. Not the 1970s Uncle Jesse. The late 80s, early 90s Uncle Jesse.
And the show is officially over.
Next topic.
Hey everyone, it's MC Fragslot, and it's time for Operation iTunes. I need each and every one of you to go to the front page of GamerCastNetwork.com and click on the big iTunes link. When it pops up your iTunes, leave a 5-star comment for GamerCast Network. If you don't like us, leave us a 4-star comment. If you leave us a 3-star comment, we're going to find out where you live.
Next topic.
Next topic. Nintendo going after the iPod market? Question mark. At the wait, first question, Chris, how do you spell
voice
that Germantown?
inflection works kind of the same way.
Lebsing? Is it
It's
Lipsing?
saying the
Lip-
question.
Liebsing or Lebsing. I've heard it both pronounced.
Lip-sync?
Lipsing.
Lipsync?
Lip sync.
Lip
Okay.
sync with a C.
I agree with Chad.
Lipzig.
Leipzig.
I'm just going to call it
Sync.
Lipzig.
Leibs.
People write in.
Leipzig.
Why don't you just
Lipzig.
call it German?